To focus on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, happy Saturday there, folks. Yeah, Saturday, that's right. Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us. I am, as always, your humble host. A different type of episode today. Not only are we taking a day off on Friday. Yesterday, I went to the beach. I'm sorry for those of you who are used to our traditional Friday episodes, but yours truly took a day. And yeah, I really enjoyed it up there in Gary, Indiana. Lake Michigan basically becomes a gigantic ocean because you see literally no land when you look out because it's so large. So that was fun. Yeah, I apologize for that. But hey, don't worry. We have a great episode still in store for you. But yeah, just a little day late here on Saturday. But first, before we go ahead and get to this very special libertarian musician and his awesome story, we're going to go ahead and talk about today's episode sponsor, and that is the Expat Money Summit 2022. Head to briannicholsshow.com/expat and grab your free, yes, I said free, virtual tickets to this amazing summit taking place November 7th through 11th. 5 days, 30 expert speakers. Join us for a week, and I promise you will reap the benefits for generations. Mikkel Thorpe, the founder of the Expat Money Show and host of this year's Expat Money Summit 2022, will be joining us virtually November 7th through the 11th. One more time, briannicholsshow.com/expat and get your free tickets today. All right, folks. Going back to today's episode, we have a very special musician because not only is he bringing the world of music to the world of liberty, but he's doing so through a very creative lens. Shawn Osborne, welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. How are you?
Pretty good, man. How's it going, Brian?
Doing well, Shawn. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to have you on today's episode because you not only are bringing lots of joy to folks through the magical power that is music, but you also are doing so through a liberty lens. And oh, by the way, you're doing so blind. Talk to us, Shawn, about your story, especially in the liberty movement.
I'm a longtime libertarian. I got active in about 2019, someplace around that vicinity, but voted libertarian for a long time. And as a musician, the thing that really pushed me, I was one of those people. I was really anti-war growing up and stuff like that, anti-war on drugs. But the thing that really sent me off that, I voted Democrat when I was younger, unfortunately. The thing that sent me towards the Libertarian Party was, I'll show my age here, but it was the PMRC. All the censorship that was going on in the 90s with Tipper Gore and stuff like that. It outraged me. And I'm even more outraged now that so many musicians don't stand up for free speech. It seems like a lot of them just either shut up about it. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about anything liberty related, and I feel as though we're not really represented in music. And I wanted to make sure that, I always wanted to make music with a meaning. So I really want to have that face of, I want to take away the power of the left and what the grasp they have on music and art and stuff like that, and dash that. And I want to make liberty fun. It's got to be fun. People, you want to have some music to listen to and that kind of thing. Music. The last interview I saw with Michael Heiss and Ron Paul, the last thing Ron Paul said was music's vital to any revolution. And I about went through the roof. I was like, I couldn't agree more.
I can't agree more myself. I super involved in music when I was growing up, from anything in the world of chorus, to concert band, to just playing music on my own piano, guitar. I like to sing. So all that fun stuff, I get it. Music, it's a different language almost, but it kind of transcends all languages, right? Like you can hear a good song, and regardless of, even if there are no lyrics, right, you can still appreciate it for the work that it is. And I would love to hear how you find the means of expression through music impacts you. And I would also be very interested to hear through your context and your perspective, frankly, as being someone who is blind, because for you, audio is so much more of a sense that you rely on versus, we have all of our other senses plus sight. So I would dare say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Shawn, but not only is music, a very important means of expressing yourself personally, but I'd also dare to assume that it's also very personal to you in the way that you interact with the world.
Yeah, music is it's the way I feel best about expressing myself. What I do is I like patterns. So I like that's one of the things I love about music. So I like to personally find a really good chord progression. Think as far as lyrics go, I like to. I would say I like when I teach music. When I teach people to write music, the thing I tell them is think about what you want to say, and then think of a cooler way to say it. And you try to fit it into a cool, catchy, hopefully framework, and that's kind of how I look at it. You might use a phrase or something that's common in like say the liberty movement. I have a song on my new album called "Don't Tread on Me." That's pretty simple to understand. There I didn't have to do as much work mentally to write the song. Some of the stuff just comes right to you. Other songs I've had, I had one song from my first album called the Hollenbeck Blues. I Love to Smoke My Weed, and I had a hell of a time with that song because it was personal. I woke up with a cop's gun in my face, and I was mad about it. I wanted to write a song about it, and that one took a little longer for me to get out because it was very personal for me, and I wanted to make sure I got to say exactly how I felt about it, and also make it an entertaining song. So I guess every song's different in that sense. Plus, I do a lot of different styles. I mean, I grew up. I'm a metalhead, but I do right now is what I'm doing mostly is traditional folk style. Think of Woody Guthrie minus the communism.
That is one way to describe music. I don't think I've ever heard the words uttered, and I dare I say I don't think we'll ever hear it uttered again. But that's fantastic. No, Shawn, and let's talk about music itself because you've been doing this for a while, and I love. And you talked about the type of music, blues, folk. But what's the reception been from an audience that maybe isn't usually overtly open to a liberty message? You kind of hit the progressive nature, and we saw that you go back to the 60s, especially when folk music really took the country by storm. It married this very progressive but also anti-war message, and the two kind of went hand in hand together. But it seems that the folk message tended to be more towards that hippie progressive side of things. So what's the response been from an audience that tends to lean progressive with a liberty-based folk music?
I was really surprised. When I first started doing this, because I'm not a singer. I'm a guitarist. I play a lot of instruments, but I consider myself a guitarist. And I started singing out of necessity because I didn't know anybody else that wanted to do this with me. So I started writing songs, and I guess in 2005 is when I really started writing folk tunes. And I decided, my girlfriend's from over in Claremont, California, and they have the Claremont Folk Center over there, and they have an open mic over there. So I thought, I'm gonna go over there and play a couple of songs. I had one just basically bashing the two-party system called "Wake Up," and I had another one about the TSA. And the TSA one's kind of more where I'm just making fun of. It's a little bit more of a lighthearted song than the other one. And I wanted to come out and just hit everybody with the "Wake Up," what the hell's wrong with you kind of song first. My girlfriend talked me out of it. She said, no, go out and play the more fun song first. And I fought her on it at first. I was like, no, I want to go bash people because I hate the two parties. And the more I thought about it, she was right. I needed to win them over with the fun song first and then hit them with that. Yep. And it's very progressive over there. And I was very surprised at the message, or not the message. I mean, at the way they received the message. I was really happy about it. Now, I think they probably wouldn't like my pro-gun song, but that's that. I would say over by and large, people agree with it. As I even progressives, I think they see the same problems as us. I just think they have the exact wrong answer to it.
Yeah, well, and we talked about this a lot in the show, right? That's why it's so important to offer solutions to the problems we see, to either A, make the government solution almost irrelevant by nature, or B, to help get us so far ahead that, or I'm sorry, to help get liberty ideas so far ahead, and then to restrict back the power of the government back to what it was supposed to be, which was, if we're going to look at the federal government, it was supposed to be a very loosely organized federal entity to keep the original 13 colonies together for mostly it was from a defensive standpoint.
Right.
And yet we've now gotten to the point that Washington, D.C. controls pretty much everything. So you do see that would be the other alternative. And if we can get a progressive friends, and I have a friend from college, she was a few years behind me, and she was just as progressive as they come. She would look at often side with folks, much the folks we don't like the Bernie Sanders folks of the world, right? The AOCs. And recently, she messaged me, and this is years later, that she has started to realize that government itself, just because they're echoing the same problems that they see, right? And we see this in sales a lot too, is that you'll have multiple different solutions to the same problem. The problem is that when the people in government who have continuously, gone back and forth between the red team and blue team keep seeing the same problems, keep giving their solutions, but those solutions don't work at all, then there naturally comes an inclination to start looking elsewhere. And she found herself a few years later looking elsewhere. And it just happened to be that her boyfriend is now going from a GOP to libertarian. So she's kind of watching him go through the journey. And she's like, well, maybe I should consider this too. And seeing her go down that pathway and start to question things that she used to believe, it's helping her not only see other points of view, but it gives me hope to see that as long as we continue to be consistent, we continue to be authentic in our real, our true selves with our real solutions that we firmly believe in, then just when the time comes, when the timing is right, that person that is open to our message will in fact receive the message. And it almost sounds religious when I speak about it like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, are we not in the game of trying to win hearts and minds?
Yeah, music's a great way to plant that seed. And sometimes that seed has to lay there a while before it comes and rains on it and brings it up out of the ground. And I really feel that's one of the powers of music, is to be able to plant that seed in a fun, catchy way. Like I have a song called Tax Man. And there's a history going back, to probably the Middle Ages of people talking shit about the tax man. And, I play that. I do a folk singing group up here at Griffith Park with a bunch of senior citizens. That's actually how I ran into folk music. I was teaching guitar up there and piano, and they asked me, it's like, hey, can you do this? And I was like, sure, I can do it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And they gave me a bunch of songs by Lead Belly and Woody Guthrie. And I was like, oh, Bob Dylan. It's like, oh, these songs are cool. I like all this anti-war music and stuff, but I could really live without the socialist crap. And then I thought, okay, that's when I decided I was going to start writing some stuff once I got into it and saw how much I liked it. But I like that idea of being able to plant that seed and make it fun.
Yeah, you have to make it fun, right? And I'm very happy your girlfriend said what she did, because you're going to win a lot more folks over, as you said, with the fun stuff. Yeah. And I mean, think about it from a sales perspective. And I know I always go back to the sales perspective, but we have a lot of folks here in the business entrepreneurial world who this correlates, is if you approach a customer and you lead in with saying, not only is your solution in place causing your problem, but you're part of the problem in embrace this solution, they're going to look to somebody else who's trying to make them feel better. So what we want to do is say, hey, listen, we get it. You were duped by the red team and blue team. And guess what? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Make them feel comforted and understood, because a lot of us came to this movement either from the left or from the right, mostly from the right, if we're going to be, completely honest, but there are definitely a lot of folks who do come from the left. So let's make sure that we're open and empathetic with what we've experienced, but also understand that we likely had the same story and we were in the same position they were. And at the end of the day, that is the definition of empathy, is to put yourself in someone else's shoes. What better way to do that than to quite literally tell our story and tell them, hey, it's okay. Look where I am today. It's not your fault. We can take you from where you are and get you to a better spot. And by the way, along the way, if we embrace the solutions that we're talking about and bringing to the table, things that you've seen as problems are objectively going to get better.
Yeah. One of the things that I tell people sometimes, I'll say, yeah, I'll talk to somebody that's kind of heading in this direction. I said, yeah, I stood where you were once. When my first time I voted was in '88. And I was one of the people that believed you had to vote for the two-party system, and I voted for Dukakis when I could have voted for Ron Paul as a libertarian. And I'm still upset about that. Just the fact that I fell into that trap, and I try to point people away from that as much as possible, because I just find it terribly annoying to this day. Oops.
There we go. My bad. You know what we got to do, Shawn, is not only through music. There's a horn honking outside. I love it having just random horns honking on a Saturday. It's always fun.
I got the ice cream truck over here.
There you go. Yeah, see, we are all having all sorts of fun audio issues having here. But one thing we can do beyond audio is to give people some visual tools to help sell liberty. And if you're able to see here, folks, on my shirt, and Shawn, I'll tell you, it's the "Hey Google, overthrow the government." Don't listen to that. I actually have one of these guys. It's going to be like, "What was that, Brian? I can go ahead and overthrow the government." Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't say it to yours, and I apologize if I made yours do that. But you can go ahead and grab your awesome "Hey trigger word, overthrow the government" shirt over at briannicholsshow.com/shop. I'm going to share my screen here, folks. You can grab, your version of the "Hey trigger word, overthrow the government." I'm not going to say it again, so I don't break anybody's brains. But also, we have so many other awesome things you can grab from our fun students, not systems posters. We have our Trust the Experts mug. I love this one. This is one of our top selling mugs. Our "Don't Hurt People, Don't Take People's Stuff" bumper stickers. Our flag, the fun students, not systems flag. And then also, I love this one, "Zip codes shouldn't determine education." We've also got our great series here from Dr. Adrian Bajan, "Freedom is Nature, Freedom is Science." So, folks, if you like some of the stuff we have here, look at this, our "Don't Nuke Me Bro" shirt. I mean, and by the way, that is going to be going into the vault here at the end of the month, so make sure you grab that. And look what I'm wearing. I got my "Good Ideas Don't Require Forced" snapback. You can see that right here. And watch this. Ready for anybody here on YouTube? If you go ahead, we're going to add this to cart, and then you just go right here to where is it? Place your order. Oh, I got to agree to the terms and conditions. You'll see why. Because when you get to the checkout, you're going to go ahead and use code TBNS. And of course, my computer just decided to just not actually let us do this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you're going to go here, use code TBNS at checkout. Apparently, I'm getting 2 of these. And then boom, discount applied. So, folks, if you want to go ahead and get your libertarian swag, head to briannicholsshow.com/shop. Check out the Proud Libertarian shop. And by the way, this code TBNS works not just at the Brian Nichols Show store, but it works at every store on the Proud Libertarian shop. So go ahead, check it out. There's so many great libertarian affiliates and partners that we go ahead and work with over at Proud Libertarian. And shout out to the amazing team over at Proud Libertarian. They are doing amazing work. All right, Shawn, enough about me talking about my store over at Proud Libertarian. Let's talk about music again, because you have a network, and it is the Liberty Blues Network, WERK. Talk to us about that network and what kind of shows are on that network. What would people come to expect if they were to go ahead and check it out?
It's funny you mentioned that. On the podcast, it's actually spelled WORK, and I had a blind fail, and I saved it as WERK for some reason on Facebook. So that was a total blind fail. So I'm going to switch that. I decided, originally it was just one podcast I just had with my progressive friend Fernie Sanders, and I would get together and drink beer and just talk about politics. And that grew into, I started talking to a couple of my friends, John and Steve in Indiana. And, John's a defense attorney and Steve's a school teacher. I thought, we'll talk about a little bit of politics from a Midwestern point of view, or more national kind of thing, more libertarian leaning. And then I have another podcast called Libertarian Los Angeles, just about more or less what's going on over here. I do have people on from around the country to talk about their activism and stuff, so I can, kind of get ideas from other people and things we can do out here, that kind of stuff. So it's just three totally different podcasts. The motto for the Progressive and Libertarian Walk Into a Bar was sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but we always drink beer. So Again, staying with the idea of keeping it fun.
Well, I'm going to give a little sneak behind the curtain here. We do have a new sponsor that's going to be joining us here on the network, and it is a great wine sponsor. So for anybody who maybe is gluten intolerant, like yours truly, and it's truly gluten intolerant, not like the oh yeah, I have an allergy. Like no, I actually have an allergy. It's celiac disease. It sucks. But also I don't drink anymore too, just candidly. And back when I did drink though, I was a big fan of wine. So we have a new wine sponsor here on the Brian Nichols Show. We'll be debuting them very, very soon. But of course, you're going to get a special discount with TBNS at checkout there as well. So we'll talk about that in the future. But Shawn, thank you for joining us in the program. I want folks to go ahead and not only be able to enjoy your music, but continue to support you. So where can folks go ahead, find you, and continue the conversation?
Yeah, I'm glad you talk about marketing because I'm not a terribly good self-promoter. I'm a little bit of an introvert, so I tend to not self-promote enough. All my music's available. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google. I think the only place I'm not is Pandora, but I would appreciate if people searched for me there. Maybe they'll finally put me on there. That's I think it's pretty much every place else you can listen to it. And like I said, my latest album is called the Liberty Blues. It's called Free People, and I actually have a song that the last song on the album is called Take Human Action. I donated all the royalties to the California Mises Caucus. I thought it was a great way for people to give. If they like, for me, I'm a poor musician, so I don't have a lot of money to donate, but it's an easy way for people to give to a charity or something like that, or a political group. The more people listen, the more they give, and you don't have to spend a dime. I have a charity album that I did the same thing for. I want to give the royalties to Children's Hospital and the Wounded Warriors Project and things like that. So I thought it was a fun way to, get people to listen to the music, hold me up in the algorithms, and kind of get the music out there so people can listen to it, enjoy it, and plant those seeds of liberty places, and show that you don't need the government to help out. People can help out and do things.
I love it. Shawn, thank you for all you're doing, because yes, we do have a big battle in winning hearts and minds. It is true. And actually I talked about this on the last episode. So for folks who are interested in checking that out, I'm actually going to go ahead and share that here on screen for folks here. 1 second. We talked about messaging because messaging matters, right? And I was talking about why we will continue, we libertarians, to lose the battle of hearts and minds if we continue to talk about the things that we care about instead of meeting people on the issues that they care about. So for anyone who's interested, for especially our audio listener, I'll go ahead and include that in the show notes. So all you got to do is click the Brian Nichols Show artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you right to today's episode. All links are available, including all of Shawn's links for social media, but also you can go ahead and check out the Liberty Blues Network, network if you're on Facebook, until Shawn goes ahead and nabs that. And then for our YouTube listener, well, hey, thank you for watching. Make sure you've hit subscribe and ding that little bell there so you're not missing a single time we have an episode go live, like our Saturday episode here today. And if you missed our episode last week on Friday, I say last week, oh my goodness, it's messing me up. Thursday, my brain just broke. On Thursday, I talked about, the messaging matters. I'll include that link right here, I guess it is, for you YouTube listener. I'll see you over there. But folks, thank you for joining us on today's episode. With that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off for Shawn Osborne. We'll see you next week.
Listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.